What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another Let's Learn Geoguessr video. Today we're going to be focusing on Ecuador and Colombia. I haven't done one of these since Croatia, and I actually really enjoyed doing this video, and I felt like it helped me learn a little bit. The problem is, with Croatia, it feels like you don't get Croatia very often, and that was my initial goal, was just to get a country nailed down that maybe you don't see all the time, but when you do see it, you're going to have a one-up on your opponent. This time, though, I really want to focus on some more popular countries that I've been running into a lot, where I sometimes don't know them or I'm unable to identify them right away. I think Colombia and Ecuador are relatively similar, but hopefully we can find some different things that differentiate the two, and then we'll play some games, see how well we can do with region guessing. But without further ado, let's get right into the video. Let's start, I think, with Ecuador. Again, I said this in the last video, but plonkit.net is the place to get these guides. They have a bunch of different countries covered, and you can really get a lot of good information out of them. I'm very excited to learn. So Colombia, primarily Gen 3. I'm usually pretty bad at differentiating the camera generations, but this one I'm pretty good at picking up on. It's kind of hard to miss. Let's take a look, though. So here we have, obviously, the Ecuadorian flag. Their domain is .ec. They're going to be driving right-hand side. Standard license plates, white, short, or long. I can't think of another country that has long license plates in South America, but maybe I'm wrong. But regardless, if we see a big mixture, we should start to think Ecuador immediately, as well as orange, my favorite color. The commercial plates are going to be orange, so keep an eye out for that. We do have this antenna here with the wire going around. Obviously, it can be seen in some other different spots, but super helpful. It's in all the Generation 3 coverage. All coverage is made with the white car and a short and thick antenna. So white car for Ecuador. All right, we got to keep that in mind. I don't know how often you're going to be seeing the car, but Mexico, Brazil, and Colombia also have this same short antenna. The antenna on a black car can only be found in Colombia. So already we're getting that differentiation between the two countries, which is super helpful. So black car is going to be Colombia with this specific antenna versus white car for Ecuador. Ecuador is one of the few Latin countries where bollards are very common. Obviously, this is going to be super helpful. I don't know that I've seen these in particular. I'm sure I have in different rounds, but not something that I immediately recognize. But looking on to the next thing, I see the poles and these round poles, as well as these ladder poles. Particularly these ladder poles I know I've seen recently, and that could have been something that would have really helped me had I known that in the moment. Most Ecuador poles are round, made of concrete. These poles are fairly generic, not something that's going to identify the country. However, the other ladder pole is unique, I believe. More or less unique to Ecuador, yeah. Obviously, we have the Brazilian waffle pole, but very different, very different. Concrete roads are relatively common in Ecuador. Double yellow middle with white outers. Double guardrails, very commonly used. This is much less common in South American countries. Ecuador often uses lots of chevrons. Chevron spam, usually considered more than most other Latin American countries. Colombia has also occasionally used a lot of chevrons and curves. So there you go, right? This is where this problem comes in, is you're going to have a lot of things that are very similar to the two countries. I definitely skipped over this, but double guardrails being very commonly used is something that will be very helpful. And it says much less common in other South American countries. So Ecuador uses a lot of square road signs with a white background. You can kind of see this. Kilometer markers are green and have distinctive Ecuadorian highway shields on them. Oh, it literally just says Ecuador on it. So that could be very helpful, obviously. Sometimes the backs of signs are painted teal blue. Signposts are thin and made of metal. Ecuador is the only country in Latin America to use teal blue sign backs. Most houses are made of gray bricks and have metal roofs. So here's the gray roofs. In urban areas, you can sometimes find this pavement consisting of hexagonal tiles. This reminds me of my walkways at college, where our walkways were often in the shape of octagons, which makes me laugh a little bit, but keep that in mind. And for right now, I think we're going to actually skip the regional and provincial clues, which obviously could be very helpful in the long run. But for right now, I just want to head straight back to Colombia, and we're just going to focus on identifying the country, play a few games, see if we can actually get like a decent country streak between the two going, and then once we do that, I think we should be able to go look at more of those region-specific clues. So this will be probably a little bit of a longer video, but I think it'll be worth it in the end, and I hope it gives you guys a lot of good information. Obviously, anything that I can do to improve this series, or what other countries you'd like to see next, I would love if you could comment down below and just give me a little bit of insight into what you guys are looking for. Let's get right into Colombia now. Identifying Colombia, obviously we have the same flag almost, but the Ecuadorian flag obviously has that sigil in the middle. .co make pretty good amount of sense. Same driving side, and this time we're actually going to see a lot more Gen 4 camera in Colombia, but we still have that Generation 3. So the camera generation isn't going to do too much for us. It's only if we're in Generation 3, we really have to pay attention and say, are we possibly in Ecuador as well? Colombian license plates are typically yellow. Obviously, this is the one of the main things that I know about Colombia, but this is definitely going to be the biggest difference between Colombia and Ecuador is the license plates. Something to really pay attention to. Hopefully we'll have cars in a lot of rounds. In Generation 3 coverage, a short, thick antenna is sometimes visible with a black, white, or gray car. In Generation 4 coverage, a white or silver car is commonly found. All right. Within the Americas, you can also find the antenna in Mexico, Ecuador, and Brazil. However, Colombia is the only country with this antenna on a black Google car. Let me reread that. Within the Americas, you can also find the antenna in Mexico, Ecuador, and Brazil. However, Colombia is the only antenna on a black Google car. So basically, the short, thick antenna isn't exclusively on a black car in Colombia. If it is a black car with that sticker, it has to, or with that antenna, it has to be Colombia, which makes a lot of sense. Colombia, I definitely know a little bit more of the metas. Obviously, the Colombian cross is one of the biggest things that most players know, especially more beginner players. I feel like you hear it and you kind of just sticks. Made of white metal, joined to form a distinct cross on the back of signs. White metal signposts can also be found in Brazil. However, these are usually wider. So you can kind of see it right here. Bam, bam. Colombia uses 2 types of kilometer markers, a tall green version with the letters PR at the top, and a traditional stone marker with black lettering. Both designs are unique to the country. I'm very curious. The PR is obviously pretty helpful. I wonder what that is like standing for or what, but are these always side by side? Because it feels very strange to have 2 different markers at the same time. The first 2 digits at the bottom indicate the road number. In this case, the road number is 90. The last 2 digits indicate the section of the road which increase west to east on even numbered highways and north to south on uneven numbered highways. That is fascinating. I don't know if I fully understand that just right now, but what I think it's saying is that the road number is 90. So we're on, like, let's just say, for US standards, we're on I-90. And then it says the last 2 digits indicate the section of the road which increase west to east on even numbered highways and north to south on uneven. So it differentiates the section of the road. The higher the number, presumably, the further along you are, either to the east or to the north, which is fascinating. Let's move on to the next clue. Colombian poles are often marked with unique black and yellow or black and orange stripes. I feel like I've seen these, but I haven't necessarily picked up on the fact that they're exclusive to Colombia. Wood fences are particularly common. In addition to the unpainted variants, some fence posts are painted and sharp at the top. They are almost exclusive to Colombia. Okay, interesting. Colombian taxis are always this pastel yellow color, as opposed to private vehicles. They have white license plates, which are often printed on the side and a roof of the car. Unblurred, you will often see the city name. Ecuadorian taxis may look similar. However, they use a slightly more saturated yellow and typically have orange plates, which makes sense. Remember, we just read that the commercial plates are going to be orange most of the time, so that makes a lot of sense. But sometimes we did see that orange strip on the top, so maybe it's hard to see. Colombian poles are generally concrete and variety of pole tops. Moreover, dark colored poles are more common in Colombia than neighboring countries. Dark colored poles, I guess just this like blackish almost color here, is the only country in the Americas apart from Mexico and Ecuador where octagonal poles can be found. Lovely. In Colombia, it is particularly common for sidewalks to be decorated with reddish tile. It's there. And that is it for Colombia. Is this it? Much of the southeastern Colombia has no street view coverage, so make sure to guess somewhere in the north or the west of the country. Interesting. Okay, so you're either up here or you're towards the coast, essentially. And obviously, Ecuador it actually shows as well, which is very nice, which is most of the country, but again, not super inland. All right, we're going to keep that in mind, and let's switch right over to Geoguessr. Here we go. Okay, so I did find this map, Ecuador and Colombia, and we're just going to kind of try and differentiate the 2 here. We don't have a ton of people playing it, but, it's got 150K locations plus. I feel like that's going to be good enough for the purpose of what I'm trying to do, and this is just to differentiate the 2 countries. So let's get into it. We're going to do no moving because that is what we do here. Bam. All right, so this looks to me like Generation 3. Can we see? I'm looking for pole tops down in the distance because it looked like when we were looking at the Ecuadorian poles, there was a lot less going on at the top, which honestly it kind of looks like here, which is making me maybe lean towards that. I think that is what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to go for it right away. And I'm going to say we're somewhere... So we said that we can't really be over here. So I'm just going to say we're somewhere, I don't know, on one of these roads. All right, so this time it was Columbia, right up here. This one looks a lot more like Gen 4 to me. But maybe it's just sunny. Do we have any of those clues? This, I feel like, was this an Ecuador thing? I feel like it was. Oh, and we have the double guardrail. Yep. I think this is definitely Ecuador. Okay, so this time I'm going to send it. And this is probably, I mean, this is very built up. We got like, what, 1, 2, 3-lane highway, some mountains to the north. I would say that we're definitely close to, do we have mountains kind of all around us? It's unclear. It doesn't look like it. It looks mainly just to the north. So I'm going to say that, maybe we're somewhere like, we're definitely on like the, oh, this is kind of high up. I'm not sure. There are mountains over here, maybe? No. What's this road doing? It's going up this way. Yeah, I could see something like this. Maybe. And it was all the way south, unfortunately, but, I mean, you know, good enough. I mean, that one, we definitely saw the clues come into fruition. What the heck is this? So here we have, you can see this kind of curl on the antenna. I can't tell what color the car is. I almost want to say, this might be wrong, but doesn't this little blob and this piece look a little black? I feel like it does, and based off that, I feel like I'm going to go for it. But my question is, where the heck are you going to have this type of landscape? It's so, like, dusty. I'm seeing something like maybe up here. Or maybe even like up here. I don't know if this is like beach or if this is just dry, but that's all I really see. It could be this road, I suppose. Don't actually know, but do I feel like it's more likely that? It feels very flat. I'm going to say we're out here on the coast somewhere. And we just can't see the ocean yet. So maybe we're down in here. Wow. Great guess. Let's go. Decent. That was a great guess. All right. What do we have here? We're in a city this time. We have lots of writing. Okay, we still got cylindrical poles. Well, this one is just a wash. It just says Ecuador right there. But let's see if we can see any other metas just quickly. Oh, it almost looks like that's a long plate, and we have a short plate here, it looks like. Do we have any other long plates that I can, like, really pick out? Or maybe an orange plate? I don't see it, but I think I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to say this is probably the city. It was not. It was Riobamba. Quite exciting. I'm curious what the capital does look like. It almost looks black again. But again, these double guardrails. But look at these poles. I'm kind of thinking that might be a Columbia thing where we were just talking about it. I don't see any yellow plates, though, which is quite odd. For Colo, but maybe they, you know, different places. But also, is this Gen 4? Is it super saturated? It might be. I would wager that it is. I'm just gonna say that it is. We're on the outskirts of a giant city, though, so maybe we're up here. It could be, you know, Medellin, oh, it was just Ecuador. Huh. Let's click back into that one. Oh my gosh, this is so much older. How do I advance it? So I guess this is just, it was just a bright day. That is unlucky. Because I really thought that these were going to be, I guess they're not exclusive, but that is just unfortunate. All right, so we didn't score great on that one, but let's just take a look at the breakdown. I mean, we had some okay guesses. Like this one was decent. You know, we got a country a couple times. I mean, great guess here, just like through logic and deduction. This part of the country looks so unique. And then we just had a couple blunders. But, you know, that's going to happen here at the start. These pole tops feel very Colombian. Like, I feel like this is what I was seeing mainly when I was looking before. But again, I'm just seeing all white license plates everywhere, which is a little concerning. Doesn't seem to be any markings on the bottoms of the poles. Not seeing much. Not seeing much at all. This looks white to me, though. So maybe I'm leaning against Columbia again. Palms, I'm thinking coastal. Maybe it's just coastal downtown Manta. All right, it wasn't coastal, but it was Ecuador. So, all right. Great call. We have the taxis. We have some ladder-esque poles, but they look very different. Oh, but we do have this hexagonal pavement. I don't remember. I'm sure that in the regional section, it probably mentions where this pavement is, but I don't remember it saying in the thing. But I think we can just pretty much lock Ecuador. I don't know. Santo Domingo. All right, so it's south again. It seems like there's a lot more. I'm getting a lot more answers southern tip. This has to be Columbia, right? We have the black car for sure with this antenna. And where would this be? We're kind of high up. Kind of dry, though. Does it feel coastal? Not necessarily, I would say. But it does feel very dry, so maybe it's like... I mean, we're not really in a town, but something like this. Yeah, maybe something like up here. We're driving through the mountains. All right, not a terrible guess. But regardless, pinpointed that. And these are the Colombian street marker signs. Do we have a cross anywhere? I mean, this one kind of is, but it's... Oh, yeah, here we go, right here. So just to confirm, this feels more like rainforest-esque, which feels like it might be more something like these roads. Right? Yeah, or maybe even like in here. I don't know if this road has coverage or not, but that's the road I would guess. Oh, and I moved kind of off of it. I think I was right over here. But regardless, not too bad. And what do we have? We have any flags? Doesn't look like it. I'm seeing all white plates, though. Do we have any long plates? Seems like mostly shorts. But this does feel like that like light pastel color that they were saying. This one, I would say less so, feels like that. Or what about the roofs? I remember they said mainly metal roofs with like that brick architecture. I'm not really seeing much of that here. But, not sure. I think I am going to go Ecuador again, though. Just based on the plates, I feel a little nervous about it. We're going to go down here. Oh my gosh. Another fantastic guess. And we end that one on a high. All right, so now I feel like we got it pretty much down. I think we got, 5-country streak there. We got every guess right. And while I don't feel like I'm like, the best, I do feel like we can maybe head back and take a look at some of those regional options. I'm going to try not to make this video like excessively long because obviously everyone's just here trying to learn and I don't want it to feel like I have to drop an hour-long video for everyone to kind of gather their information. But let me head back to Plonk It and we will resume the video. All right, we are back and let's do it. Most of the coverage in Ecuador is centered around the western part of the country. A large part of the Amazon rainforest has no coverage. So that's probably all of this dark green region. And that's why you're not seeing very much over here. Lots of coverage up here in Quito. Lots of coverage kind of in the cities, it looks like. And then coastal, we have some decent coverage. And then as well as south, which is where we were getting a lot of answers, I felt like, either in this city or down here. All right. Google car antenna has two distinct variations. The high antenna, purple, is where the wire around the antenna is entirely above the halfway line. So you can kind of just see it's right here. And it doesn't across this plane. And the low antenna, the blue, is where the majority of the wire is below the halfway point line, and there can be a small bit poking out at the very top. Most useful when you have the high antenna, since it's always the northern half of the country. Yeah, so it looks like just about from where it says Ecuador, you only have like this tiny road here, and then that's pretty much it. Just this road section, and that's pretty much it. Everything else is northern of that. So you want to pay attention to that upper half, what's it called? Antenna. I can't think of the word, my goodness. This is the elevation map of Ecuador. The imposing Andes Mountains run through the middle of the country. So it's going to be more flat out here, more flat in here where there's not any coverage really. Actually, no coverage, I would say. So if you're thinking hilly, it's going to be more middle of the country. And if it's going to be more flat, I would say it's probably the west side or more flat. Obviously, it looks like it's still pretty hilly though here. Banana plants, especially plantations, are most commonly found in the southwesternmost part of the country. Extremely dry landscape is only found in the coastal region between Guayaquil and Manta. So almost like that one round we had where we were in Colombia, and the top corner up here, obviously, this is Ecuador, but you know the general meaning. It's going to be this outer region, just jut out here. The flattest region is located around the city of Guayaquil. I'm definitely saying that wrong. That is most easily seen on the E25 and the E48. The Amazon area is also very flat, and that'll be described later. Amazon area is very distinct, fairly flat, contains many of the trees with white bark, Cordia trichotoma, and oil palms, which is going to be like these, and then these. Vast majority of coverage notably uses the rarer high antenna coverage. The province of Esmeraldas can look similar to the Amazon region, but is significantly hillier. So if you kind of have, okay, I can see these trees and the palms, but you have a little bit more hilliness than this, maybe that's where you'll be. And that's the very top region of Ecuador. The southern regions have many winding mountain roads and exposed brownish red dirt. The central provinces have a similar road, or similar roads, but the exposed dirt will usually not be found in these areas. Province of Chimborazo is semi-arid and has an abundance of pine trees. Yeah, wow, look at this. Look how different this looks. You got your bollards on the side of the road as well. Taxis in Ecuador are very common, and the first letter on each taxi can be used to determine the province you're in. The first letter of the taxi and the first letter of the province, with the exception of P, which can be almost anywhere in Ecuador, are often the same. So this is a crazy map. The letter also appears the first letter of ordinary license plates, respectively, in each region. This is psychotic, learning these. I mean, I guess we'll have to pay attention to see if we get that close to any taxis. But all right, so step 3, the spotlight. We have the E40 between Salinas and Guayaquil, which is that drier region that we learned about, is one of the only divided highways in Ecuador. It is the only one in a dry area near the southwestern coast. All right, makes sense. And last but not least, the Galapagos Islands are an archipelago located west of mainland Ecuador, and these are only trekkers and boat coverage that are on or around the island. You got the Galapagos tortoise here, but I mean, that's rarely going to appear, I think. And, if we miss Galapagos, we miss Galapagos. I think that's okay. But that is it for Ecuador. I think we're going to move back over to Colombia and then do one more playthrough, maybe 2 maps or so, maybe a little bit more. And then we're going to call it a day. Let's back out right now. Bam. All right, back with Colombia. Here we go. Much of southeastern Colombia has no street view coverage, so make sure to guess somewhere in the north or west of the country. The northern part of the country is characterized by white sandy soil and an arid landscape. And I remember we just guessed up here, and we kind of picked up on that right away. That was really the only place where we saw any dryness. East of the Andes lies a vast lowland called Llanos. It is characterized by open tropical grasslands, savannas with scattering trees, small areas of forest, and seasonal flooding. Okay, I wonder if this is seasonal flooding, like if this is just like overflow with poor drainage of rainfall. That would make a lot of sense, I think. But so, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Very flat here. So this big chunk of a region is very flat. These pole markings with the short black strip on the top and bottom and a longer yellow section in the middle are most commonly found in Antioquia department. Sometimes you'll find them in the Cordoba department as well. Is that really what they call like their states and provinces, is departments, or is that just our GeoGuessr pros using some silly lingo? As a result of slave trade, the Pacific coast of Colombia is home to an overwhelming majority of Afro-Colombians. So that's all almost on the west coast. And then we have a few spotlights, actually a little bit more so than Ecuador, which I mean makes sense, bigger country. The unique vehicle can be found in and around Leticia, the southernmost town in Colombia. Well, it's very bottom, but yeah, fascinating. The long concrete blocks seen between the bottom left corner are a reliable way of recognizing the road north of Leticia. Coverage on the Caribbean island of San Andreas was taken by this distinct white car. Almost looks like a Kenya car, kind of. The island of Providencia, which is where? Okay, so this is the lower island. This is the upper island. And this must be just off the coast to the west, would be my guess. Located roughly 90 kilometers north of San Andreas, is home to a unique gray truck. So, okay, same truck, one's gray, one's white. Makes decent sense. We can skip that. Provincia streetlights are green and supported by a trapezoidal sheet of metal underneath. Uniquely shaped supporting metal pieces are also found in Barranquilla. This landscape is typical of the far northern province of La Guajira. Extreme dryness, low vegetation, and occasional cacti. Yeah, I mean, we freaking nailed that. Go us. In addition, you can often recognize the Uribia Puerto Bolivar Road. Bolivar? No, it's Bolivar Road. Because of this landscape and straightness and the train track always present to the east. All right, interesting. So that, I mean, really was right where we guessed. You can recognize the narrow Ruta 90 land bridge between Barranquilla and Ciénaga thanks to the dashed yellow lines, dried foliage, and a shallow body of water next to the road. So almost reminiscent of that region down in this middle section, right, where that drainage was. But this is almost like a marshland kind of thing. In the older Generation 3 coverage, you will also see tall mountains in the distance. Ruta 78, west of the town of Pailitas, is easily recognizable thanks to towering mountains and very low clouds ahead. Wow, look at that. That's actually really cool. So that's just up towards the peninsula, but just ahead, you can see the clouds like all right, lined right here. Really fascinating. And that is it for that. So let's get back into some games, see how well we can do with actually guessing the right region, and see how much information we actually retained from that. But let's freaking get it. I believe in us. There we go. All right, we're back with some GeoGuessr. Here we go. Let's get into the games. Take no time without further ado. 2 minutes per round, no moving. Super, super dry. Okay. So the question is, are we up here? Or are we down here? I would venture a guess. We have no car meta here? Yeah, I don't see any antenna. I want to say that we're down in Ecuador. Which would be somewhere down here, I think. I think we said it was Guayaquil and maybe down here, maybe this area. I don't know how, deep we are, but... And it was just Colombia in the northern region, so that's a little unlucky to start our round, but not a biggie. All right, here we are. What is this? It's a statue of some sort. It's a little bit more mountainous and off-road. I would say that we're probably... I would say that we're more in Colombia here. We know we're not in here anywhere. I'm going to say we're somewhere right in here. I think that's... Well... We said, wait, where did we say the low region was? It was like something like in here. So probably not there. It's probably a pretty bad guess. Maybe out this way then. Great job. Great deductive reasoning. Great guess. All right, we have white car. Lower half. I'm thinking... This one, metal roofs. I'm almost thinking we're back in Ecuador again. These cylindrical poles really don't tell me much. but can't see any real signs or anything like that, so I feel like I just gotta go with my gut, and this seems like a pretty big city. I'm gonna say this is somewhere down here, maybe, or actually maybe over here in this city. We haven't really seen much, but I could tell. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? It moved right out of it. That's okay, though. Okay. Okay, so we have this lower half. You can see it. So the lower half, I mean, obviously, it covers more of the country, but a lot of the other one is going to be more so seen up here. So I would lean towards somewhere down in the flatter areas. As well as, these people do look a little bit maybe darker skin, which makes me think, I mean, it said what? Coastal? It said like over here somewhere, right? I mean, there's a literal road here, so maybe I'll venture out this way. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. And unfortunately, it was just up here. Maybe I misremembered that meta. I'm not sure. Ecuador pole. Here we go. We do remember that. This looks like a long plate. Do we have any place names? Enteca. Not seeing much. Some definite palms. I can't tell if these are planted, but it seems like they're everywhere. But, I mean, we had some palms, like, in here before. This is some big infrastructure. I could see this being in here. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say we're driving in. We're facing the south, so we're driving in from the north, that means, right? If I line up the road. Yeah, it's north to south. We're driving in from up here somewhere. And it was not that city. Decent, though. We just had this first blunder on the first round, but that one was kind of tough for sure. Okay, this one looks like it's the lower half again. Looks white car to me. What do we see? What do we see? Okay, we have these big... Is this the banana thing? The banana plantation? Where was that? I really don't remember. I feel like it was Ecuador, but I really have no remembrance of where it was. I'm gonna say south. That's my guess. And it was just all kinds of wrong. Alright, this was one of these roads. Or something like that. Okay, so let's get into this one. Some super coastal tiled roofs. A yellow plate. Makes me think it's Columbia with this thing as well. Do we have any other clues? What are these water tanks on the roofs? This has to be something. This is so distinct. I'd love to know. I mean, we're going to pick wherever we are, but I would love to know if this has to be a unique thing, because I haven't seen it yet. Let's see. We got mountains to the west. We're kind of in the mountains, and mountains to the south. Do we have the... I mean, we're up on top of a mountain. I wouldn't think that we're super close. Here are these wooden fences that are common in Colombia as well. And this looks to be like Gen 4. We have to be on some sort of coastal area. Like is this really hilly though? Maybe Manizales feels kind of right. Alright, and we were just a little bit further in, over here in San Jose de Miranda. I'd be very curious if, like, this specific section, like, or that specific city is unique to that kind of property. Okay, what do we got here? Looks like lower half. Looks like white car, but it's hard for me to tell. Parroquia La Victoria. Feels pretty flat. We have some wooden fences, which makes me think Colombia. Yeah, let's see if we can find Parroquia. or La Victoria? Parroquia. I mean, it feels very flat, which makes me kind of lean this region. Yeah, I could see somewhere right in here, maybe. Don't see the specific city or town, but... And it was Ecuador, so, I mean, who would have freaking known? That was unlucky. And last one, definitely Colombia with all the yellow license plates everywhere. Literally everywhere. You can kind of get a feel for that yellow car. I guess Colombia has them too here, actually. These buckets. This must be like their water. Or like, I actually really don't know. Is it just a rain catching system? It might be. Where were we last time we saw that? It was over here, so maybe we just guess here again. So no, it must not be a very unique thing if that was the case. White plate, pickup truck. Bottom half again. Wooden fence posts again. Flat, mountainous. Let's send somewhere up. Maybe not. Maybe it's actually further down. I'm going to send somewhere down here. It was just all the way south in Ecuador. Unfortunate. I'm struggling. Look at this bird. Go crazy. Well, this has got to be somewhere famous that I don't know. This guy's vibing with it. This guy's going to kick this guy out. I mean, this is beautiful. Where is this thing? Giant statue of guy with mustache. Where's Mustache Man? Capital? Maybe? Montserrat? Mountain with a church. That could be right. Could Apostor Experiencias de Arte. Unclear. I'm gonna go with Montserrat. Alright, what was it? Just out of curiosity. It was the Mirador Cristo Rey. Monument to Cristo Rey. There you go. An absolutely awful way to wrap it up. But I hope this was helpful. I hope you guys did learn some things. And I don't want to make this video draw it too long. Go have yourself a go on this map or any other map. Maybe you can do some incorporating things like Mexico. Obviously, we saw that the octagonal poles kind of relate to that. Maybe even just adding in like Peru just to help you differentiate your South America. Let me know if this was helpful, if there's anything I can do to improve these videos, if you want them shorter, longer. Let me know and I will do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye!